On Christmas Eve, I knocked with my kids and a tray of cookies. My mom cracked the door, looked at them, then said, "We decided to keep this year for the real family." My kids turned pale. I just smiled and said, "Let's go somewhere that wants us." As we drove off, I called the bank. Cancelled my cosign on my brother's car. An hour later, he texted, "Why is it being repossessed?" And then I got a call from. What made me the angriest wasn't what she said to me, it was what she said about my kids. My children. Jake and Lila didn't choose their mother. They didn't ask to grow up in a broken home. But ever since my wife walked out on us 2 years ago, my family started treating them like they carried some kind of stain. Like they were a reminder of failure. Like they were less. At first, it was subtle. My mother wouldn't ask about them when she called. My father would make offhand comments about the kind of woman I married. Darren, my brother, started calling them those poor kids, in a voice that barely hid the sarcasm. And his girlfriend Cassie, who moved into my parents' house last year like she was some kind of royalty, once said that Lila had her mother's eyes, and then smirked like that was something dirty. Still, I believed Christmas would be different. I believed the season would soften them. I believed that when my kids showed up with cookies they had made themselves, when they stood at the front door with excited little faces, even my mother would find it in herself to act human. So we made the cookies. We packed them neatly onto a tray and wrapped it in foil with a ribbon. Jake made a card. Lila wore a red reindeer sweater that was 2 sizes too big because it used to be her mom's, and she felt proud in it. We got there just as the sun was going down. I could see lights inside, the TV glowing. I heard laughter. For a second, I thought maybe they were waiting for us after all. I knocked. The door opened slowly, like they'd pulled straws to decide who had to face us. My mother appeared. She looked at the tray, then at my kids, and then at me. She didn't even pretend. "We've decided that this year, this holiday will be just for the real family." It took a second to register. Jake's eyes dropped. Lila looked up at me, confused. I felt something cold click into place in my chest. "Let's go where we're expected." I turned, and they followed. Not a word from the doorway. No one called us back. Darren didn't even get up from the couch. The car ride was quiet. I didn't say anything until I was sure they weren't going to cry. I handed them their tablets and let them play games while we drove. They deserved better. So much better. At a red light, I opened my banking app. Last June, Darren came to me in a panic because his financing got denied. He needed a car. Or he'd lose everything. I co-signed. My credit, my guarantee. He never missed a chance to remind me he'd pay me back. In spirit. I canceled it in under a minute. No warning. No hesitation. We got to Marcus's house just before dinner. The driveway was full of cars. Lights in every window. I didn't even knock. Marcus saw me pulling up and came out with 2 mugs of cider and a grin like we'd made his day. I've known Marcus since 3rd grade. He's seen me at my worst. He called 3 times this week trying to convince me to bring the kids over instead of going to my mother's. I should have listened. Natalie hugged the kids. Their daughters came running out with gifts. Jake and Lila lit up like they hadn't been turned away an hour earlier. Marcus handed me a drink and just said, "You're home, man." That's when my phone started buzzing. First the text from Darren. "Why are they taking it away?" Then the call. Then another. Then one from my mother. I ignored them all. Instead, I sat on the couch with my kids and watched them laugh for the first time that day. Marcus passed me a plate, and I actually tasted food instead of forcing it down. Natalie handed Lila a candy cane and told her to put the star on the tree. I was done asking for a place at that table. And this was just the beginning. I didn't sleep much that night, but not because I was restless. I just wasn't used to the kind of quiet that didn't feel like something was about to go wrong. Lila had fallen asleep holding a stuffed bear Natalie gave her from a bin of toys her kids had outgrown. Jake was sprawled out on the air mattress with one sock halfway off. Every few minutes he'd turn and mumble something, still smiling. That's what I kept watching. Their faces. They looked safe. That's not a word I'd been able to associate with them in a long time. The guest room at Marcus's place smelled like fresh laundry and cinnamon. There was a small ceramic tree in the corner with glowing colored lights. The little things mattered more than I thought they would. No drama. No tension. No one walking on eggshells because someone in the house was in a bad mood. Just space to exist without judgment. My phone had been vibrating on and off since the moment I put it on silent. First it was just texts. Then the voicemails started rolling in. I didn't even bother to charge it. By 2 in the morning it died. And I let it. By the time morning came around, Marcus had already made waffles. Natalie had lined up mugs of hot cocoa. Lila had a marshmallow mustache before she even sat down. Jake ran off with Marcus's kids like they'd known each other for years. I hadn't seen him laugh like that since before the divorce. That sound used to echo through our old apartment when his mother still lived with us. After she left, it faded to something quieter. He never said anything, but I noticed. Natalie gave Lila a pair of gloves she said were too small for her daughters, but they looked brand new. Marcus had picked out a few board games he thought Jake would like. They were just giving, without trying to be thanked for it. It was the kind of generosity I'd forgotten existed. Around 10, I finally plugged my phone in. I didn't want to, but something in me wanted to see the damage. The moment it turned on, the messages poured in. Missed calls. Voicemails. Texts. Some from my mother. Some from Darren. One from Cassie, which was laughable. The first voicemail was short, just my mother saying we needed to talk. The second one was more dramatic, like she'd rehearsed it. She said what happened the night before was a misunderstanding, that I took it the wrong way, and that, of course, the kids are part of the family, but things are complicated. She started using that tone where everything's everyone's fault except hers. She actually said, "You have to understand, Peter, people talk about the children and your situation. It's not easy for us either." I paused the message there. The children. Like they were a problem to be explained away. I skipped to the last voicemail. 4 minutes long. She was crying halfway through it. Not because of what she did. Because I reacted. She said I had no right to involve Darren's car in this, that it was cruel and vindictive. Then she added something that stuck with me. "This isn't how family treats family." That was rich. I put the phone down. 10 minutes later, a text from Darren popped up. "You're AF ****ing coward. Grow up. Handle this like a man." Then Cassie chimed in with a gem of her own. "Wow. Just wow. Hope your kids enjoy watching you burn bridges." I was about to mute them all when my mother's final text came through. "Peter, please. This is all wrong. I don't know what came over me. Call me. Please." I shut the phone off again. That afternoon, while the kids were decorating sugar cookies, Marcus asked me how long I'd been helping out with my parents' mortgage. I told him the truth, since August. My dad got hit with a sudden pension cut, and the mortgage company wouldn't budge. I stepped in. Quietly. Like I always did. "You still paying it?" he asked. "Was," I said. I don't think he expected that. He just nodded and passed me a beer. After the kids went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table alone and pulled up the account. I'd set up direct payments every 15th of the month. 4 payments already gone. They never even acknowledged the last one. It was just assumed I'd keep doing it. I canceled the autopay, then removed my name from the backup billing info. Then I sat there in the dark for a while, listening to the sounds of someone else's house creak and settle. It was the kind of quiet I could live in. I knew the fallout was coming. But I wasn't scared of it anymore. Let them scream. Let them twist it however they wanted. They crossed the line. And I wasn't going to stand on the porch holding cookies for people who never wanted to open the door in the first place. They didn't wait long. By the morning of December 26th, the silence broke. I woke up to 7 missed calls and a string of messages that started passive and quickly turned ugly. My mother began with another plea. "We should talk, Peter. You misunderstood everything." Then 2 hours later. "I can't believe you're still acting like this. The kids deserve better." Then it escalated. "Darren, so you're just cutting everyone off now? Real brave. Cassie, guess we were right about you." I didn't reply to any of it. I just got up, helped Marcus shovel the driveway, and watched Jake and Lila work on a snow fort they'd started the day before. Lila had drawn smiley faces in the snow with a stick. Jake had set up a little flag using one of Marcus's old baseball caps. They were still laughing. Still untouched by the drama boiling 100 miles away. That evening, I got a message from my cousin Erica. She's one of the only ones in the family who's ever had my back. Her text said, "Just so you know, they're telling everyone you had a breakdown. That you stormed off and ruined Christmas on purpose." I replied, "Thanks for the heads up." She sent back, "You don't owe them a thing." It was the first time anyone had said that out loud to me. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear it. On December 27th, the mortgage company called. The automatic payment had bounced because I'd removed my information. I let it ring out. 10 minutes later, my mother called again. No voicemail this time, just a missed call. Then another one. Then a text. "We just got a notice. Peter, this isn't funny anymore. You can't play games with someone's home." That was the moment I realized they still didn't get it. This wasn't a game. I wasn't trying to get attention. I was done. Marcus noticed I was quieter than usual that afternoon. We were watching a movie with the kids, and I hadn't said much. He paused the screen and asked if I was okay. I told him everything. The car, the mortgage, the texts, the guilt I didn't even know I'd been carrying. He said, "Man, you spent years trying to earn something from people who decided a long time ago they were never gonna give it. That's not love. That's control." I nodded. I felt it in my bones. That night, I turned my phone back on for exactly 10 minutes and sent one message to my mother. "You chose what kind of family you wanted this Christmas. I just made sure the rest matched." No reply. New Year's Eve came, and for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't dreading the next day. I didn't make a resolution. I didn't need to. I'd already made the only change that mattered. And I hadn't even told the kids the whole story. Not yet. New Year's Day came without fireworks. The kids were still asleep when I got up. I made coffee and just stood at the kitchen window in Marcus's house, watching snow fall across his backyard. There were 3 sleds leaning against the fence. 2 of them Jake and Lila had used the day before. I could hear the muffled hum of cartoons coming from the guest room where they were camped out on the floor with blankets, pillows, and a half-built Lego set. That was the first morning in years where I wasn't bracing for something, some insult, some guilt trip, some backhanded remark that ruined the day before it began. There were no silent treatments, no "we need to talk" conversations waiting to ruin the eggs. That peace? That was what convinced me. I'd been thinking maybe I went too far, maybe I acted too fast. But standing there with that silence and that calm, I realized I hadn't gone far enough. Around 9, the kids wandered into the kitchen. Jake poured cereal into a coffee mug. Lila climbed up onto the counter looking for the marshmallows. While they were eating, Jake looked up and asked if we were going to Grandma's today. I just said, "Not this year." He nodded slowly, didn't say anything else. But I caught the way his eyes dropped to his cereal. Lila didn't say anything either. She just chewed, staring at the fridge where they'd stuck their drawings. That was the only moment that hit me. The only time I questioned what I was doing. But then my phone buzzed again, and I was reminded exactly why I made the decisions I had. It was a message from my father. No. Hello? No asking how we were. Just a photo of their mortgage bill, marked past due in red, and one sentence. "Don't do this. It's not just about them. It's about keeping the house. The same house where we stood in the snow, holding cookies and hope. The same house where my kids were told they didn't count." That afternoon, while the kids were helping Natalie take down decorations, my phone rang again. I let it ring twice. Then I picked up. It was my mother. She started carefully, like she was walking through a minefield. I didn't say anything at first. I just listened. We didn't mean to hurt the children, Peter. That's not what this was supposed to be." I stayed quiet. I was trying to keep things simple this year. There was too much stress. And Cassie had opinions, and we were trying to keep peace in the house. I still didn't say anything. "We didn't mean to exclude them. I thought maybe you'd understand we just needed a quiet holiday," I finally said. "You looked my kids in the face and said the holiday was just for real family." She sighed. "It came out wrong. It came out exactly the way you meant it." She changed tactics. "We're behind, Peter. On everything. The car. The house. Your father's been talking to the credit union. We didn't think you'd walk away." That's when I said it. "I didn't walk away. You pushed us out. You're punishing us." "No," I said. "I'm just done financing people who can't even pretend to love my kids." That hit her. I could hear it. She said they were scared. That the mortgage company called. That Darren was angry. That they didn't know what to do. I told her, "That's not my problem anymore." Then she said something I didn't expect. She said, "We made a mistake." I wanted that to mean something. But it didn't. Not when it only came after consequences. I said, "You didn't make a mistake. You made a decision. And now I'm making mine." Then I hung up. 2 minutes later, Darren started calling. When I didn't pick up, he left a message. "This is a great show, Peter. You happy now? They're talking about putting the house on the market. Guess what? You'll still be a loser when it's over." I blocked his number. That night, Marcus pulled me aside while we were stacking chairs after dinner. "You don't know them," he said. "I know. You've done more than most people would. You gave them chances. They made their choice. I'm just tired of pretending," I said. "Then stop pretending." And I knew I would. I already had. But there was one more step I was ready to take. One last connection I hadn't cut. And it was time. I thought I was done. Thought I'd drawn the line. But the thing about cutting people off is, they don't always let go right away. They grab, they claw, they beg, and when that doesn't work, they try to blow everything up on their way out. It started with a call from the bank. They couldn't reach my parents. Or Darren. So they called me, since I was listed as an emergency contact on a joint savings account I'd helped them open years ago. That was a detail I'd forgotten about. I picked up, expecting more nonsense. But the woman on the phone asked if I was aware of an attempted wire transfer from that account. 15,000, she said. It flagged due to an address mismatch. I nearly dropped the phone. I told her I hadn't authorized anything. She said the transfer had been initiated under Darren's name. I asked for a copy of the attempt. She couldn't send one directly, but she confirmed it was a payment to a private seller, cash for a used car. They were trying to buy him another one. With money from the only savings account my parents had left. One I had access to. One that was supposed to be a safety net. That night, I logged in, removed my name, and called the bank to put a hold on the account for suspected misuse. Legally, I had the right. Financially, I was protecting my own records. I didn't call anyone. I didn't warn them. I let the consequences come like rain. 2 days later, Cassie showed up at my apartment. I wasn't there. Marcus and I had taken the kids to the zoo. But she banged on the door, screamed into the hallway, and ended up getting the super involved. He called me, confused. She said it was an emergency. That you're ruining lives. He didn't know the half of it. I told him not to worry and called the building to make sure she couldn't get in again. Later that evening, my mother tried one last move. She sent a video of her and my father sitting at their kitchen table. She looked tired. He looked angry. They took turns talking. It was like a hostage tape, if the hostages were trying to guilt-trip the kid who stopped paying the ransom. They said they were sorry. That they didn't mean to hurt Jake and Lila. That family should work things out. That I was acting cold. That I'd made my point. Then, right at the end, my mother said something that I'll never forget. She said, "If you don't come back into this family, you're going to raise your kids with no roots." I watched the video 3 times. Then I blocked her. Blocked my father. Blocked Darren. Blocked Cassie. Blocked every cousin, every aunt, every flying monkey they might send after me. I went through every social media app. Every contact list. Every thread. Deleted. Gone. Marcus found me at the table later that night, just staring at my blank screen. "You alright?" "I am now." "What are you thinking?" "That my kids aren't growing up with no roots," I said. "They're just growing up without poison." And that was the end of it. Almost. 2 weeks after I blocked them all, the silence felt almost too quiet. I kept expecting something else to come. A letter, maybe? Someone knocking on my door. One of those guilt-loaded surprise visits they were famous for, Darren showing up with some cheap apology, my mother suddenly, remembering, it was one of the kids' birthdays, even when it wasn't, or Cassie trying to play mediator with her phony, syrupy tone. But there was nothing. And then, on a Tuesday afternoon in mid-January, I got an email from my mother. Just a single sentence in the body. "You'll regret this one day." That was it. No. Hi. No. Love, Mom. Just a warning. A promise. Like it was supposed to echo in my head for years and break me down when I was weak. Like some kind of final shot meant to knock me over. I stared at it for a minute. Then I hit archive. Not delete. I didn't want to pretend it never happened. I just didn't want it anywhere close to my present. By then, the kids had stopped asking about them. Lila started calling Marcus Uncle Mark, without anyone correcting her. Jake asked Natalie for help with a school project and called her his friend's mom, in front of his teacher. We were becoming something real. Not a patchwork of broken promises and polite smiles, but a family that fit, messy, honest, whole in its own way. One night, Lila climbed into my lap after dinner and asked, "Are we still a real family even if we don't have a grandma or grandpa anymore?" I didn't hesitate. Yes. More real than ever. She nodded like she already knew. Like she just needed to hear me say it. A week later, my cousin Erica sent me a message. "They're selling the house," she wrote. "Darren's girlfriend is telling everyone you forced them into it." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I wasn't angry. I wasn't vindicated. I was just done. In early February, I found the mortgage account officially closed. The house was listed at a desperate price. Below market. Fast sell. The same house I helped hold together through 4 quiet, thankless payments. The same house that didn't open its door to my children. I deleted the notification. By March, I'd moved to a new apartment. Smaller, but ours. Fresh paint. New couch. The kids helped me pick the colors. Jake insisted on a dark blue for his room. Lila wanted yellow. I didn't argue. They deserved to make this place theirs. The best part? It was walking distance to Marcus's place. Jake started biking over after school. Lila helped Natalie bake on weekends. We built something without resentment. Without fear. No one kept score. No one told us we didn't belong. And then something happened I didn't expect. On the first warm weekend of spring, I took Jake and Lila to the beach. It wasn't summer weather, but they didn't care. They ran barefoot through the wet sand, jackets flapping, laughing like they'd never been hurt. I sat on a bench with a coffee, just watching. Jake called out, "Dad! Come help us!" So I kicked off my shoes, ran into the cold sand, and helped them build the ugliest little sandcastle I've ever seen. Lila stuck a twig in the top like it was a flag. Jake poured water into the moat with a plastic cup we'd found in the car. That moment was everything. That's when it finally hit me, none of what I lost mattered anymore. Because what I had now wasn't just better. It was true. I hadn't just cut them off. I hadn't just left the room and slammed the door. I'd rewritten the definition of family. They handed me the match. They turned their backs. And I walked away, not to hurt them, but to save my kids. I don't regret it. Not for a second. The update. It had been a month since I'd blocked them all, and life had settled into something steady. Jake was deep into soccer, Lila had turned her seashell collection into an art project, and we were finally falling into routines that didn't involve looking over our shoulders. Then one afternoon, Jake handed me the mail with a puzzled look. "This one's weird." There was no return address. Just my name and an old forwarding label. Inside the envelope was a small metal key and a short note in my father's handwriting. "Peter, this is the key to the safety box. There's something in it for you to read. It's yours now." That was it. No greeting. No emotion. Just instructions. I sat with the key all evening, trying to ignore the feeling that they were reaching through the silence I'd finally earned. But the next day, I went to the bank listed on the back of the envelope. They still had the box. Inside was a single letter from my mother, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. The letter was full of things she never said out loud, memories, regrets, and a strange admission that they didn't know how to love my kids the way they should have. At the end, she said if anything ever happened to them, they didn't want Darren in charge. They named me the executor of everything. I left the bank with the documents but haven't decided what to do. They waited until they lost control to hand it over. Now I have the power they used to cling to. And I don't even want it.